mean, you can see about 20 people on this inflatable boat just out to the side of us.
I do wonder why they don't stop the boats. It seems like they escort them out to the border, they let them go, they go back, they get another one, they escort them out.
What is your thought about the way that the government has handled the immigration crisis?
I'm going to say total cock-up, I'm sorry, but it is.
The British people deserve some answers, and until they get answers, until they get actual planning and can see a change, there's so much in this country that's screwed, and I think the British people deserve answers.
Recently, good weather has seen more migrants attempt to make this dangerous crossing in small boats than at any other time in 2023. Over 20,000 have already made this journey this year.
Well, we're about a couple of miles away from British waters. You can see probably just an orange speck in the distance, which is an inflatable dinghy with several people on board. There are probably around about 10 to 15 people on board that we can tell, although it's very difficult, as you can see in the distance, to tell how many people exactly are on board. It's being escorted by a French boat, a huge deep sea rescue vessel, which you can see behind it, which will escort it all the way through French waters until it reaches British waters, when it will be picked up by border force vessels. We're going to try and get slightly closer. As you can see, it's a very calm day today. The weather is very warm, which means that we are likely to see a surge in the number of people making the journey. On the GPS, we can see at least one other Escort French rescue boat, which means that there is likely at least one more inflatable boat full of people. We're going to try and move slightly closer to see if we can see exactly how many people are on board.
Despite Britain and France signing a £480 million deal earlier this year to help put an end to channel crossings, what our team saw was a French ship safely shepherding people to British waters and into the responsibility of UK border force.
I mean, you can see about 20 people on this inflatable boat just out to the side of us. You can see the orange of their life jackets. They're all sitting very calmly because there's obviously no space on these boats for them to do anything else. If they move, then water could come into the boat. At the moment, it's looking fairly stable, but because it's fairly choppy, the water out here today, you can still see that there are waves coming up against the side of the boat. Behind the inflatable boat, you can see that there is a French rescue boat which is following at a sort of short distance away, just making sure, escorting this inflatable boat full of people to British waters. We're about 2 miles, just under 2 miles away from British waters, where border force ships should come. The Coast Guard will likely be watching this inflatable vessel. It will likely have drones in the area monitoring where it's at. We can see from inside the boat's cabin that there aren't any border force ships in the area at the moment because they are pursuing a different vessel, a different inflatable vessel full of more people making their way over. And so when they reach British waters, if there isn't a border force ship available, this French ship behind will leave this dinghy full of people and they will be left to make their own way towards the UK coastline.
When the weather's nice, they're coming across, you know, all throughout the day, and we see the border force, the UK border force, coming back and forth, ferrying them back to Dover and then coming back out to pick more up. So it's quite a common now, and a lot of the people around this area and the fishermen and that, they all see the same thing, and we all listen to it all playing out on the radio. We're coming out on a normal fishing trip and there was a small boat. The people were sort of sitting in water, the boat was sort of half full of water, and we pulled up alongside just to see what was going on, and because they waved us down by tying a t-shirt onto an oar, and they were waving at us as we was motoring out. So I diverted and went over to them, and as I pulled up alongside them, they jumped and they were hanging off the railing on the side of the boat. So yeah, we managed to get them aboard, and I called the customs, and they sent the border force straight out to pick them up off our boat.
You've noticed as well that the vessels that the French side have hired, they're almost assisting the boats to come over to England.
Oh, definitely, yeah, they are assisting the boats. I mean, they're assisting them in the fact that they're escorting them across to the border. partly to make sure that obviously they get through the shipping lane safely and they get to the border safely. Obviously no one wants to see any more tragedies, but they've hired a trawler called the Apollo Moon, and they've now got a Dutch safety vessel, the Avenge Charlie, plus the other French Coast Guard assets, the tugs and the warships, and all of these vessels seem to be escorting the migrant boats through the shipping lane onto the French English border. I've watched it go on for many years, and they have got a very difficult situation in the fact that there is a lot of people leaving the beaches all at the same time. But I do wonder why they don't stop the boats. It seems like they escort them out to the border, they let them go, they go back, they get another one, they escort them out. If they can find them that easily as they leave the beach, because they pick them up about 1 mile, 2 miles off the beach, they've got all that time, sometimes 3-4 hours it takes for them to escort them to the border. They've got all that time to stop them, apprehend them. You know, they're going out to commit a crime, they're crossing the border illegally. So it would be like the police watching somebody make a burglary, and then after they've escaped and fled the scene saying, oh, they shouldn't have done that.
We sort of delude ourselves that the French are our allies, and that if we pay them 480 million quid, which appears to be the bill, that they will actually stop the migrants coming. Well, if you just pay them 480 million pounds with no success bonus, or indeed no link to success, then I think, you know, the French are going to continue to laugh at us. They've never liked the Anglo-Saxon. They've always been very envious of us, because I think very often we are more able than them. We've had a freer society than them. We haven't had the Code of Napoleon to hold us back. But I would implement a success formula, which meant that the less migrants that arrived in the UK, the more we would pay the French. And the more migrants that arrive in the UK, which at the moment is a huge number, the less I would pay the French. So until we actually start to get some proper capitalist formula into it, I think the French will continue to laugh at us and basically wave them through.
Yeah, exactly. Also, politically speaking, there's nothing in it for French officials, either in the local towns of northern France or indeed in the Élysée Palace for President Macron. There's nothing in it for them to make it look as if they're trying to stop them leaving. There's everything in it for them to make it look as if they're encouraging them to go.
When Rishi Sunak said in January, judge me on these 5 pledges, one of which will stop the boats, undoubtedly has not stopped the boats. Is there any sign that any of the policies that he's instigating or attempting to instigate is having an impact?
No, I mean, I don't think so. Other than actually pointing towards Albania, where we can clarify that you've seen a smaller number of those people coming across on the boats.
Because they know they'll be shipped home.
Yes, because they are being shipped home, but generally the rest of the numbers aren't going to decrease. I think the estimates that the government made of around 80,000 arriving this year will probably be slightly lower if you look at them coming across the boats, Julia. But if you add them coming across on the backs of lorries, on ferries and in planes and being overstayers. Yeah. Last year I said about 85,000, people laughed, said no, it was only 60. Until we now know 25,000 came over on that route as well. So I still believe this year we'll be edging towards 85,000 people again coming across to the United Kingdom through the asylum route, the illegal economic route.
Yeah. What is your thought about the way that the government has handled the immigration crisis?
I'm going to say total cock up, I'm sorry, but it is. Used to work in a hotel, yeah? The whole place now is full of immigrants. They go out there, they get their free this, their free that. We can't even get jobs, half of us.
Just quickly, who do you vote for?
Labour.
And do you think Labour will handle immigration better than what the Conservatives do?
To be fair, love, I don't think no one's got a clue, because it's never really happened, has it? It's all sort of been bombarded on us, and I don't think it was Conservative or Labour. I don't think any of them got a clue, to be quite honest. So I think whoever did it, it's not going to be a great job of it.
So you're not hopeful for the future then?
No, I just think it's going to get worse.
We should look after our own people more. You know, the people that are born in this country, I think we should start looking out for them instead of bringing more foreigners in, because it's not fair on everybody else, especially us. You know what I mean? Because I think that's my view on it. Yeah.
How does it impact your life?
It's just I start to see too many of them on the streets. So they're in gangs. They're going around now selling drugs. and they've got, you know what I mean, and they've got knives, and they're just bullying people. So, and they drive around in their flash cars that the government give them, got nice houses and everything else, and they're leaving our own people out. It's not fair.
What do you make of this? The idea that 2/3 of people are completely dissatisfied with the government's position on immigration?
Ian, I think it's higher than 2/3. As you say, whether you are a complete righty or a monstrous lefty, no one is happy. And I just had lunch with a bunch of people. I was sat over with chicken and chips. We got talking about immigration. And what I found is real massive frustration. Nobody knows. Look, I'm going to use the word out of control. I don't necessarily mean the numbers. What I mean is the government doesn't have a plan. Yeah. It doesn't have a visible policy or a purpose when it comes to immigration. Everyone's confused about what's an asylum seeker, what's a refugee, what's an economic migrant. It's an absolute mess, and anybody who says it isn't a priority issue for a lot of people is definitely wrong. It's massive.
There's no doubt about that. And again, you just hit the nail there, Andy. It doesn't matter where you are politically. You can't just have tens of thousands of people turning up in boats. There's no policy there, right? That's not our policy. That's not an immigration policy. That's an out-of-control situation that's happening on our own doorstep.
Yeah, it's not working either way. It's not working for anyone. It's not working for people who want open borders. It's not working for people who want to lock the borders. And the irony is that the Tory government should be so strong in this. That should be their one thing that unites their supporters and brings a few new joiners in. And they're making an absolute pig's ear of it. And my 90 quid bet that Labour will win a majority that I made a year ago is looking better and better. And Suella Braverman and the rest of them, every time they open their mouth, there's more confusion, more of a sense this is genuinely out of control.
I think we've become a laughing stock. I think Great Britain is the place that everybody's got, apparently they speak the language or they've got a family member. I only equate with it. I'll give anything to anybody, strange enough, but what I don't like is the fact that people in this country are suffering and they are getting more and more agitated. And whatever people tell me, the people in this country, not the London-centric bubble, talking about, you know, north of Watford Gap, right, the area these people are hacked off with this. They want answers. What's your thoughts on this, Annabelle?
I think that there are people who are genuine refugees and that Britain has a long and proud history of welcoming those people. I also think that there are an increasing number of economic migrants who are trying to jump the queue, who are trying to exploit our weakness in this area. And ultimately, it's a tale of complete Tory failure, that they've actually been looking to the sky gods and praying for bad weather. The rest of us have been hoping that the sun might shine this summer, but I think Tory politicians have been praying for rain and choppy seas. Well, now we've got clement conditions. We're going to see rising numbers of people crossing the Channel, and the idea, you know, at the start of the year that Rishi Sunak was going to stop the boats is increasingly looking like it was for the birds.
Who is it that's actually running the small boats? It's not, these migrants aren't just sort of blowing them up themselves, it's criminal organisations. You can make a real dent in that by arresting people because they operate in France and we don't have jurisdiction over their territory, but they also operate in the UK. But unfortunately, that will mean a massive increase in policing resources, which I don't think is necessarily very forthcoming. It's a very difficult thing to do because these are the same people that run the drug rings into this country. That's the first thing that has to be said. They always talk about Rwanda as being this big, great example of what we need to do. The majority of people who came, the largest single group that came last year, were from Albania. As far as I'm aware, Albania has airports and we have diplomatic relations with it. They all broke the law when they came in. They have no right to be here. You can just put them on a plane to Albania. The largest group that's coming in now is people from India. We're trying to sign a trade deal with India. Why'd you have to put those people on a plane to Rwanda? The Rwandans don't want them, really. They want people from Afghanistan. But there are plenty of people with justified reasons for coming from...
Jonathan, very quickly, before Rebecca jumps in, what would you say to what Benedict said, my friend?
Well, I totally agree that we've got the Albania deal. That's obviously seen a 90% reduction in the people coming from that country. But we see now India and Turkey. We saw the Minister of Immigration go to Turkey, but didn't actually come back with a returns agreement, which is very frustrating. But you're right, I would test out what the situation. I'd put these people on the plane and I'd fly them over and I'd sit on the tarmac and see what Turkey or India...
You don't need to sign a deal with these countries. What are they going to do? Shoot your plane out of the sky? No, you just fly the plane over and you say, here we come, these are your citizens, you have to take them.
Whatever side of the argument you sit upon, this is central to the next election. And I don't care whether it's Tories, Labour, what's that other party called? The
Green.
Liberal, whatever. I don't care who it is. The British people deserve some answers, and until they get answers, until they get actual planning and can see a change, and we add to that education, there's so much in this country that's screwed, and I think the British people deserve answers.